Hello everybody, this is Mong004 and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about this debate that happened between Griffin Gaming and SupaNova. Now, this was actually a pretty good debate. I actually liked it. And I more so agree with Griffin than SupaNova. And no, it's not because I'm a fan of Griffin, because I do actually watch a lot of his content. Sometimes I don't agree with his point of view. I don't always agree with him all the time. Just because I'm a fan of someone doesn't mean that I always agree with them. But at the same time, he does do some pretty good takes and some pretty good roasts of people and stuff like that. Now, SupaNova, I might have watched a couple videos of his before, but I'm not too sure. But I'm going to come at this from a different angle because I think that SupaNova was right about a few things. Maybe not necessarily in the best way and stuff like that. So I don't know much about SupaNova, but I will give him some credit where credit is due. So yeah, I'm ready to get into this. So one of the things that I do agree with SupaNova on is the less content for the same amount of money thing. Now, in all truth, yes, you are getting less content in Battlefield 2042 than you got in Battlefield 5. This doesn't particularly mean less value because there's a potentiality of less value, okay? But nobody knows that. That's up to the consumer. But I'll talk about that a little bit later on. You are getting less content for the same amount of money, if not more money, especially if you're buying this on like the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. I mean, $70 for just the base standard game, and you're getting less content than you got in Battlefield 5. I can see why people are concerned about that. Again, you don't fully know the overall value of that stuff, but I can see why that's an eyesore for a lot of people. And this is one of those things you really should definitely wait to purchase on, but I agree with it. I am a little concerned about that too, because again, yeah, I did like the fact that, Battlefield 4 had a campaign. Might not have been the best campaign out there, and I've never beaten Battlefield 4's campaign. I actually have a video up on my channel where I'm playing through the campaign because I had it back on PS4, like I said on that video, but I never actually finished the campaign because it was a game save problem, and this was back in the early days of the PS4. And I just never went back to the campaign, but I am now on PC, and I said, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go back to the campaign and play it. But I do like the fact that they do have a campaign, and that is a neat, to me at least a neat value to have that option to have the campaign. Now, of course, the campaigns in Battlefield always haven't been the great, and there's another, discussion about him talking about the campaign, what I'll get into. But I do like that value. I do like having that, campaign. Plus, when it comes to the modes, there's going to be less modes in this and stuff like that, which the modes that they're going to be in there are the modes that I usually play. I find that to be a great value. I think Team Deathmatch, Rush, and I think Conquest. Conquest, that's what it is. I think there's another mode too, but I forget. But I like the fact that there's going to be Team Deathmatch in it, because I mainly do Team Deathmatch. I don't like, I've said in another video, I'm not necessarily big on the big, massive multiplayer stuff. I mean, there's a few cons I have there about him talking about the player counts too, and that kind of didn't make any sense. But again, I'm not into the big stuff. Like, I don't play things like like Call of Duty and playing Warzone, stuff like that. I play Call of Duty here and there. I've kind of not been playing it that much lately because it hasn't been my cup of tea. I just don't like some of the stuff that's in it. It's been corny lately. But yeah, I don't play things like Warzone. I don't care for that. I don't care for Battle Royale, and I don't care for the big maps with that many players on it. I will try it out. I will definitely try out stuff. Like, I tried out Ground War in Call of Duty. I liked it a little bit. Still not quite my thing. But yeah, I'm just not into that. So I like the fact that they're gonna have Team Deathmatch, and I like the fact that they're gonna have Rush and Conquest. That's more for the big stuff. But again, that's kind of what I like. Now, other people might like far more modes, and I do wish that there were more modes when they were shipping this. So yes, there's technically going to be less content, okay? Does that mean there's less value? No. Is it fair to be concerned about it being less value? Yes, it's understandable. That's from to each their own. You may feel concerned about it. I'm a little concerned about that and all that stuff. Along with the fact that I am concerned about EA being greedy. This is another thing that I do agree with him on. EA, again, they have to make money. And hey, I've said in my other video, if we're going to concern ourselves about transactions in video games and what they do with microtransactions, which in a lot of these cases, they're not microtransactions. I consider them to be major transactions, depending on what they charge for them. I don't know what they're going to be charging for these skins, so I'm not going to judge that. I'll judge that when I see the game itself. But yes, I'm concerned about a company like EA, just like Activision, and all them being greedy. I do not like a lot of the transaction practices of a lot of these companies, which is the reason why I kind of moved away from, like, take for instance with Call of Duty. I haven't bought the Season 4 Battle Pass. Why? Because I don't want it. Now, some people might find that to be of great value. They may really like it. And Battlefield 4 is going to have a Battle Pass. Again, I'm not going to judge that because it hasn't come out and all that type of stuff. But again, EA may get greedy and put a whole bunch of things in there that could have been in there. That could have been part of the main game, which, yes, I do concern myself. If they have this Battle Pass day one and this stuff could have been in the main game, is it that this stuff is being either pulled out, which nobody knows if the stuff is being pulled out of the game. Nobody knows if it was ever actually part of the game. They could be finishing this stuff later on. I would concern myself if that Battle Pass was there day one. Then I would say, well, okay, perhaps they pulled it from the main game and are adding it back later and getting you to buy it. Perhaps. Nobody fully knows the inside workings if whether that happened. And that's where I think he kind of jumped ahead because, again, who fully knows that? I don't fully know it. You don't fully know it. Nobody fully knows that. But, yeah, that could be the case. I would be a little bit more concerned about that at launch. And so, yeah, I am concerned about EA being a little greedy about things, okay? So that part of his argument, those parts of his argument I don't disagree with. Okay, I absolutely agree with him on that, and I do think that he makes some fair points on that base part of his argument. But that's when we have to get into the things that I did not agree with him about. First thing first, telling people how to spend their money. When he says, I implore you to not purchase Battlefield 2042, it'll make the industry worse. Okay, in all truth, if EA, Activision, or any company has bad transaction practices, yes. Who enables them? The customers who buy the stuff. Now, those people can enable them to do practices that those customers like and absolutely find value in, or they can enable them to do things that they don't like. That's all subjective. Okay, we can all find different value in what we like in some of these transaction practices. Some people like a lot of the microtransaction practices, or like Call of Duty with some of the skins that are like, what is it, $20 to $25 and stuff like that. Some people don't mind that stuff. Some people like a lot of that content and stuff like that. But I wouldn't tell someone how to spend their money. I would probably suggest that I wouldn't spend that money. I don't particularly like a lot of the practices, but I wouldn't tell someone how to spend their money. I mean, I could see if it was something illegal they're buying or something like that, which even then you have to be careful of telling people how to spend their money. That's up to them. That's their own hard-earned cash, but I can understand that a little bit more. But it's 100% legal for, Activision or EA to sell their stuff. It's 100% legal for Activision to sell this content and whatever's coming in it, whether it be less or more, at the price they want to. And it's up to us to determine the value and whether we're going to spend our own hard-earned cash on it. It doesn't make sense to tell someone how to spend their money. That's up to them in how they're going to spend their cash, how they're going to spend their own income, okay? So that I don't agree with, and that I will never agree with, okay? It is up to any consumer to find the value in any of this stuff. And that's where I give Griffin more credit, but I'll get to that in a second. The other thing is there was another particular problem that he had, and that is mainly concluding that the value is going to be less. Again, this comes down to each and every different consumer. Like I was saying in the beginning, yes, there could be less content. And one may find all the content in Battlefield 5 to be far more valuable than the content in Battlefield 2042, right? That's all subjective, because just because you have less content does not mean it is less valuable. That is up to any of us to have a concern about that if we want to personally. And it's also up to us to determine that, which you should determine it once the product comes out, okay? I have some issues with Griffin's conclusions there too, because he concluded some things, and I'll get to that. But that is up to all of us to determine the value. He was pretty much saying, oh, it's less value because it's less content. I can choose that. I can choose that it's less value. Okay, I'm going to spend more money on it if I find that it's absolutely the greatest value, and that even though it's less content, it's far more value than anything in Battlefield 5. Because maybe I thought that Battlefield 5's campaign was crap. Maybe I think Battlefield 5's multiplayer content is crap. You know, for me, Battlefield 2042 with the less content could be of higher value. I have my own personal concerns, but everyone's going to have their own view on that value. So determining that it is less value overall and concluding that, that's not necessarily the best move. That's not the best thing to say. The one bit of credit that I will also give SupaNova is that he specifically said, and I'm not saying I'm giving him credit for saying this at first, he was saying that Battlefield 5 or Battlefield games have always had a campaign. They've always had a campaign. They've mainly focused on campaign and multiplayer second, which is wrong. Obviously, the first two Battlefield games did not have a campaign. They were mainly multiplayer games, and campaign came in later. Now, the credit I'll give him is that during that debate, he did admit that he was wrong. He did admit that, and I like that. Okay, I wish he could have thought about some of his other stuff, like imploring people to not purchase it. Up to them when they want to purchase it. But I will give him his credit. He did acknowledge the fact that he was wrong about that when it came to the campaign. Because I think anybody who's paid attention to Battlefield, I'm not a big Battlefield fan, but like I said, I did play some Battlefield games in the past, and I do plan on playing Battlefield 2042. I'm more hyped about Halo Infinite, but I do plan on playing that game, and we will see in due time and stuff like that. But, you know, I do know the campaign situation. So I'll definitely give him credit on that. So now, moving over to Griffin Gaming, one of the things that I'll give him a whole lot of credit for, he was mainly talking about the value from one consumer to the next. You know, he didn't like Battlefield 5, and he particularly likes at least the idea of what he's seen of Battlefield 2042, because there's a bit of a problem with his take on Battlefield 2042 when it came to other things that he said. But he mainly talked about how from one consumer to the next, we can all decide the value. We can determine whether, you know, that $60 is worth our money or not, regardless of the amount of content, okay? We can all decide whether having a campaign or not is valuable for us as individuals. Why? Because some people may not care about it, some people might. That is all dependent upon the individual. So I like that talking point, because the fact is, that's where I thought that SupaNova was wrong about. But Griffin Gaming mainly stuck to that, even during some parts of the argument where I think he stuck to it in ways that kind of didn't make any sense, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, that I definitely agree with Griffin on. I agree with him on the fact that, you know, he finds that his pre-order was valuable. He feels it was valid. He likes what he's going to get. Okay, and again, that's all subjective. It's his money. He can spend his money on it. For him, he thinks that the overall value of the money he's spending, he's getting a lot for it, especially when it comes to the long-term aspect of a video game, which is another thing I wanted to give him credit for, because a lot of people always go after, oh, because a game doesn't have a campaign, it's worth less than $60. Again, that is all dependent on the overall value of the content in it, okay? I wouldn't dare be one of those people, because there are people out there that do say things like, well, you know, campaign games, they're definitely 100% worth $60. Even sometimes, if you think about it, a campaign could be a one-and-done deal, and let's say you have about 25 hours of a campaign. Now, that's a great campaign. It's a great length, right? But that could be it. You know, you play the average Uncharted game, which I love the Uncharted series, or Horizon Zero Dawn, or God of War. Now, those have some pretty nice campaigns and stuff like that. But a lot of times, you know, once you're done with those games, once you're finished with them, that's it. It's over. It's done. You know, you can go back and do a few things. Look for, like in Uncharted, you can look for the different treasures and all that type of stuff. But it's mostly one and done. God of War, yeah, it has some replay value, but one and done. Same thing with a lot of other games. I'm just talking about the Sony games, but a lot of single-player games, that's it. You know, so if you spend $60 or even $70, Ratchet and Clank, once you're done with that, you can go back and get a few things, but it's over. It's done. Whereas with a game like Battlefield, at least with any multiplayer game, you could play that thing for years and years and years on end, okay? For whatever they're going to give you day one, and any other free updates to the games, like maps and other content that you don't have to pay for, you're getting that value, all of it, and the time with it from day one. Yeah, some of it may come later, and it's nice for them to give you a lot more in the beginning. I really wish they were giving people more maps and stuff like that in the beginning and more modes in the beginning. But at the same time, if you're going to get all that stuff free over time, over years, so that they don't split the player base, just like EA is saying, that is not bad at all. That's great. So yes, overall, $60 is not a bad price to pay for something that could very much entertain you for years and years and years and years and years to come, and for far more than it. So long as depends on how much you're going to play it. Because if you don't play it much, then yes, you might have gotten a lot less value out of it. But if you're going to play it a lot, you're going to get plenty of value out of it, and you may get that value for a long time. I got something that just popped out in Windows, so I don't know. You might have heard that. You might not have heard it. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I don't think that a multiplayer game immediately means less value. That I don't think is true at all. And I don't immediately mean that just because you have multiplayer and single player, that means there's more value. It depends on what you're going to get. Okay? So I agree with Griffin on that. However, I do have concerns about Griffin and his personal opinion and his personal preferences. And this is where I had a problem with some of it. Now, some parts of, SupaNova's arguments was just simply about what you're getting in the package. And I think Griffin put his personal preference a little bit ahead in that part of the argument. I don't think it was too bad, but I felt that those parts of the argument he could have kept his personal preference out, because some of that stuff is subjective. And that was when I think that Griffin Gaming made a big mistake with comparing. First he said that Battlefield 2042 is going to be a much better game than Battlefield 5. And he used the trailers to determine that. He used the upvotes and downvotes from Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 2042 to determine that. And it definitely sounded like it. If he meant something else by it, he'd have to explain it, because, again, first, how do you know that Battlefield 2042 is going to be a great game? Nobody's played it yet, except internally. Nobody's played it. Nobody knows what the overall value of that game is going to be. We can all hope it's going to have great value. We can all look for it to have great value. And for Griffin, he may feel already that it has great value, but he hasn't played the game yet. No one's played that game. And to use a trailer to determine that, when you haven't played the game and you're talking about a trailer, yes, we all know that Battlefield 5 had bad ratios when it came to downvotes for that trailer for Battlefield 5. But here's the thing. That game is also out, and people can judge it by actually playing the game. No one, including Griffin, can judge Battlefield 2042 and its overall value in playing the game. Why? Unless he's an insider and he's playing the game, how could you judge it? So how could you say it was going to be great? How do you know it's going to be great? No one knows that. I don't know it. You don't know it. SupaNova doesn't know it. And SupaNova let him know that. That's all subjective. And that using those trailers to determine whether the game is going to be great or not, that wasn't a smart move. That's where I think the Griffin kind of messed up. Again, I like Griffin. I mostly like his content and stuff like that. I do disagree with him here and there. And this is one of the things that I disagreed with him on. In him specifically saying because of his personal preference, it's going to be great. SupaNova was right. Nobody knows that. It is subjective, and I darn sure would not use a gameplay trailer to say whether a game is going to be great or not. I mean, look, I'm looking forward to Halo Infinite, and based on what I saw on Halo Infinite, I really want to play that game. Will I come out and say, oh, Halo Infinite's going to be great, man, because that trailer? No. I hope it's great. It looks like it's going to be great based on that multiplayer trailer and stuff like that, but I am never going to say it's going to be great because I haven't played it. I know the beta, I think it's coming up sometime this summer and stuff like that. I at least hope to get into it. But I have no idea because I have not played that game. So I cannot determine whether through a trailer a game is going to be good or not. Okay, so that's why I think Griffin kind of messed up. But overall, that's what I thought about their debate. I thought it was a lot of fun watching it. And I thought Griffin I think he mostly made the best points. But again, I wanted to give SupaNova his credit where credit was due and show Griffin his credit. So just because I'm more of a fan of Griffin, just because I do watch his content a lot, and just because I am subscribed to him, does not particularly mean that I agree all the time with his approaches. There are other times that I think he's wrong, but I thought it was a really great debate. But let me know what you thought about the whole debate. Did you like Griffin more? Did you like SupaNova more? Am I completely wrong? Did I see it the wrong way? Let me know down in the comments section. And again, if you like this video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications to be notified when I upload another video. I do a lot of different videos here on YouTube, but I'm also on Locals. So if you hit me up at locals.mong004.com, you can come and see some of my content on there. This will be on there along with other content and stuff like that. But until next time, thank you very much for watching this video. Really liked their debate, really enjoyed it. But until next time, this is Mong004. And I am out. Take care.